And
Right.
we are live.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, everyone. My name is Vasil, and today we're going to talk about a topic that I'm sure quite many of you are excited about. And these are the crystallized AI skills. To do that, today here I have with me Sebastian, who is CTO in Crystallize and actually one of the main persons behind the Crystallize AI setup. So I think it's going to be exciting. So let's start it maybe. Um, Sebastian, if you remember, like a few weeks back, we did release Flare,
Yep.
which is AI-powered tool that helps people to work with Crystallize. For
Yep.
example, there is a Crystallize help here that you can ask any questions about queries, shapes, what you can think, right? And then we have like more specialized areas here that you can ask about specific queries or shaping your content. And there is much more to come, of course, but that's yet to come. So
Mhm.
first we released Flare, and that was kind of one of the first tools that we did around the AI setup. A few weeks later, or maybe just one, I'm not sure, we released the MCP server, the Crystallize MPC server. With the setup that you can get it and plug it in your favorite editor there, right? And then use it in place. And now it feels like there is some connection between the two, something that maybe the glue that makes the two work together, or like what's the missing piece in between, Sebastian?
Yeah, actually, the story is quite interesting because, as you mentioned, we started by working on Flare, right, which is mainly a chatbot on which we give to which we give context in order to do some AI stuff, right? So we plug it to an LLM. In our case, it was Amazon Bedrock, and we needed to make it do something, right? So
Yeah.
we actually started by giving it a lot of context to build query, to connect to Disco API, to create content modeling, to create mass operations. So everything you can do with Crystallize that you can do on Flare, that's the origin. Even before talking about MCP, right? So we did completely Flare, and we were happy about it, right? Flare was
Yeah.
working. We could share with our customer. People are using it. It's quite awesome. And to me, we did it a little bit reverse of what could be the best engineering workflow here because we
Mhm.
started by Flare and then we were like, okay, now it's good. We have it on Flare, but how about developer? How about developer experience? Uh,
Exactly.
developers have their own tool already. So how do we make this reusable? That's why we did, and that's why we released last week the MCP server, right?
Yeah.
And the and yeah, I don't know if you guys have watched this live stream, right? But the MCP server is actually exposing different tools to query, to get the schema, to build mass operation, validate the file, etc. But it also expose skills. So there is a skill tool. Um, then you need to install the MCP server, right? Which means
Yeah.
authentication. It means that we are running the MCP server. You have to install it and everything. But there is something new, and I think we can show you that, right? It's not that new, but now as a developer on your coding agent, of course you can install an MCP server, but you can install skills, and skills are just files that are going to be set up somewhere in your project or in your home
Mhm.
directory, and your coding agent knows about them and can enable them right away. And there is no discussion with the LLM so much at that moment, right? The coding agent knows where to log the skills, and it will put the skills into the context before to call the LLM, right? We're saving a little bit of interaction between your coding agent, MCP client, and MCP server. There is no connection at all with MCP here, right? It's
Mhm.
just a bunch of
Yeah.
file that is giving context to your coding agent. So those are skills. So
Oh,
maybe
great.
you know that.
Yeah. But that's always interesting, right? Because not everybody knows how things work together. So what you're saying here is that by installing the skills, the LLM knows which skill to pull based on your question, so you don't need to really worry about anything else. The LLM will figure out
The
how
coding
to work.
agent. not the LLM, the coding agent, right?
The coding
Before
agent,
you go to the LLM, the coding agent knows that he has access to the skills and will push that in the context. Yeah.
Cool. Great. So that's all good, but then can we look at the Crystallize skills? Like where can we find them? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think if you can put my screen.
Maybe share your screen.
Yeah, I'm sharing already.
Okay. I think you're sharing actually, yeah, that's
Here
great.
we go. So first, as we do for the JS API client and other things that Crystallize, we have released that it's open source. So you can contribute if you want on the MCP server and the skills. So I'm not going to deep dive into the code. We've done a little bit better. We have an automatic documentation on that. So it's a little bit better to browse. So here you have the list of skills that you can download. So see, you have the content modeling, information architecture, JS API client, how to do mutation, permission, pricing, and query. So those really skills are markdown file, right? And they can do more actually. If you read the specification of skills, you can also have scripts. So you have some skills when you install other skills that are actually, they can run stuff, right? Bash, JavaScript, whatever. For now, Crystallize skills, they are just curated, specific, markdown to tell the coding agent how to do this or that. So if I look at the query, here I might find some information about Disco API and how to query the Disco API, what the specificities, how does that differ from PIM or CoreNext or just catalog API, right? So this is a bunch of customized documentation for the coding agent. So that's the definition. Now, how do you install the skills? Let's deep dive into that. Very recently, Vercel has released these things, which is like NPM, but for skills. It's very simple. You have a list of skills. You look what you try to find what you are looking for. And if I do Crystallize, I'm going to see a bunch of Crystallize skills, right? Because we have there. And me, I'm using Claude. So I propose that I show you a installation of the skills and a demo of how my coding engine is going to pick up the skills, right?
Let's do that. So we're going to share the links to the Crystallize marketplace and the Crystallize skills kind of in the comments below, so you can find them in one place. Maybe what is interesting here, Sebastian, so about the skills, when we install the skills, can we install just one of the skill or we need to install all of the skills? How does it work, like on a general level? And then
you can pick. So see, this is well done on skill.sh. And skills.sh is really a simplification, right? If you are using Cursor or Anti-Gravity, just VS Code, and you go and look at the documentation of those tools, they're going to tell you, okay, to install a skill, you need to put it in this folder and this folder. If you're using Claude, this is .claude something. If it's Cursor, it's probably cursor.rules, whatever. And what skills.sh is doing is they have all that knowledge. And when you install a skill using skills.sh, we're going to see that together. It will install everywhere.
I see.
Every folder doing symlink. And I think we should do that, right? So let's install
let's try it.
So I do this. I'm not going to mention any skills, right? Just I want all of them. NPM skills, add, that's it. Yes, I want to use the last version. And now the system is going to say, okay, we have a bunch of skills available here. Which one do you want to install?
This is the one that we saw earlier. And then you select all of them.
Right.
Okay.
Which makes sense, right? So before my project was completely empty, right? This folder is empty. So I select my skills, and then I said, okay, which skills? And you know, if you're working with a team, maybe not everybody is using Claude, maybe people are using different coding agents. So you can decide, okay, I want to install those skills for Claude Code, but also, I don't know, for this one and this one and this one. Why not? Do we have
so many coding agents?
Yeah, exactly, right? So universal is probably this one, but if you have specifics, you can also do that, right? Pi, for instance. Then you hit enter, and then you start to have options. Do you want to install those skills for this project only, so you can share it with your coworkers, or you want to install those skills globally to your computer. For this demo, I'm going to do project only, but of course I have the Crystallize skills installed on my computer for all my project, right? But for the sake of the demo here, we're going to do project.
Okay, let's do that. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do the project setup. That's to see how that's going to work. Of course, on a global level, it's going to be when you start using it.
Yes. Then Symlink recommended version. Let's see what that means. What that means is you're going to have a bunch of Symlink in your project now. So anyone opening this project with any kind of coding agent, actually with the coding agent that I have selected, will be able to use those skills, right? So if I look to the .cloud here, for me, I have a Symlink to .agent, right? So this is just a bunch of skills installed. So if I open this project now, really it's like the node module. Those are going to be committed. You can push that into your repository. There we go. And here, you can see them, right? So this is exactly what we showed you online before, but now they are in your project. And if you want to update them once in a while, like you do npm update, you can do npx skills update, and you're going to download the latest skills, which is kind of cool because every time we Crystallize on our side are updating the skills, then you get the last version, right? Which is great.
So actually, the management becomes quite easy of the skills using the skills.sh. I see now. Great.
And as a developer, I mean, I said earlier that the MCP server is exposing the skills, but that's going to be much better, much faster for you if you have the skills on the project, right? Because you don't need back and forth with the MCP server. So let's use them, right? So now my coding agent is Claude. I can open Claude. And if you know a little bit about Claude, I can have the list of my skills, right? So I can see that, okay, this project
skills. They're there.
I have other kind of skills here. You know, I'm a big front-end developer, so I need some help front-end. So see, I have skills that is helping me doing some front-end, right? So yeah, I have that installed. Nice. And again, just for the sake of the demo, you can see that I have no MCP server installed, right? There is nothing installed, nothing configured. So now let's try to use skills. How are they going to be triggered? So let's say, give me the last product on my tenant furniture.
Oh, but wait here, Sebastian. So how this going to pull data from furniture? It doesn't need any authentication, or why is that?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So first we can see the skills and has been loaded automatically, right? Without any kind of, I mean, with a lot of magic here, but it knows that it needs to load the skills, and it will read, and it will try to load the project using the product using Discovery API.
Ooh, even it kind of prefers discovery, which is nice, and I guess that's why we don't need authentication.
Exactly, that answers your question because on this furniture tenant, everything is open, so you don't need any authentication.
Yeah.
Oh, so we got an error. Okay, is it going to fix it by itself? I guess so.
Let's see how smart.
Of course, this is the demo god, because we obviously did that right before it was working.
Yeah.
So this is interesting part, right? The MCP will do a little bit more here. It will try to fix itself. What did they do? So a lot of curl. So here you can have your coding agent set up in a way that you are not being asked for permission all the time. I like to give permission.
To check what's going on, of course.
There you go.
Ooh, great.
That's it, right? I don't know why it did so many back and forth, but maybe we need to improve the skills, right? At some point. What was it? Give me the last product on my tenant furniture. Yeah. So we can do another test, right? We can say, Now I want you to, what can we do? To give, let's see, give me the folder on my tenant using Disco API. But I need to know Disco API, right? And then again, it's going to use the skills to fetch everything it needs. And obviously, this time, it's going to do the query correctly the first time.
Beautiful, yeah.
Here you go.
Here we go.
So everything's very new, right? Skills and MCP, it's changing every day. And as you can see, right, it's still at the end of the day, the LLM, which is deciding what to do with a bunch of documentation, right? And even in this situation, we gave a lot of examples of how to build a query. It's probabilistic, right? Sometimes it's making mistakes. What was nice to see here, it's at the end of the day, he figured out by itself the mistake and could do the query.
Yeah, and I guess also by having these mistakes, we can also improve further the skills, right? And then have it more examples, I guess, if it's needed, which then will make the LLM easier to figure out how to build exactly the query. And as you said, we did that many times. It worked. Sometimes it needs a little bit more help, but in the end, it really manages to figure out what you asked. So this is very helpful.
And that's why we put them there, right? So you can read them, and you can do a pull request. We can improve that. This is going to be a never-ending optimization here, like what we do with any kind of open source library.
Yeah, great. I think that's really helpful. And as you said, this really helps the developers to improve their workflows and speed up their development process.
Because another thing is, I could say, for instance, let's clear this context. I could say like, okay, I want to build a script with the JS API client. Can you install it with Burn and set up the minimum stuff that I need?
And right? This is already, this is already a time saver.
Here it should go and check the skills again and do whatever it needs to do. So it's the project was empty, right? So it's gonna burn init, and it's probably gonna add the JS API client and do a bunch of, here you go, burn add, boom. Maybe I didn't give the permission to write, but that is completely normal, right? If you have coded with your coding agent, this kind of interaction is completely normal. Now I'm giving it permission to write, and it's okay, I've installed this and that. So we can go back on the project, and I can see that now I have a package.json with the JS API client, and I have a bunch of
the example with the JS API client.
Now, so that's really the point. It's better than documentation because it's going to be faster for the coding agent get access to the skills, to the optimized and up-to-date part of the documentation, I would say, and examples.
Great, definitely. I think this is a time saver. Instead of you going checking how to do the setup, what are the required things you need, just the LLM and the coding agent are giving you all of this. You just say what you want, and then you get it.
And I think this one is also, I think we should mention this one as well, right? Because in Crystallize, you can build a content model that you want. And even though you can do that, you might not know exactly what are the tricks that you can use, right? We have so many ways to do the same things, but most likely we have patterns, right? Like item relation versus using topics, how to use chunk, and multiple choice and stuff like that, right? And these skills that you can use in Flare, by the way, you do check your content. You can do it also in your code and ask for something. Like I could say, I want to build my Crystallize new project, and my content are product no, let's say
Product is very generic. Yeah.
building cars.
Yeah.
So I want a composable model, so I can combine SKU of, I don't know, rims, paint, etc. Right?
Yeah. Let's.
And here automatically it should load the content model skills. There you
Oh,
go.
yeah. Here we go.
Look at it, and again, propose a content model that will match. This is also interesting to mention here that you have a bunch of skills online that are helping you, giving even more context to the LLM, right? I'm going to Control C and show you what I do in my day-to-day life, I will say. Usually, I would do this and I would add a /will-me, which is a skill that has no connection with Crystallize at all. But this one you can look online and find it. And then it's going to start to ask me a lot of questions. Okay, what is it exactly that you want to do? So the context is going to be much better. Then the skills are going to be used in even a better way. Right? So now I have a lot of questions to answer. Right? Let's dig into it. How do you want to do that? And should we yeah, let's say it's a demo.
So the idea here is that you're gonna narrow down the possibilities that you're gonna get out of it, kind of narrow down to exactly what you want to build, and then the LLM will produce the content model based on something like more specific rather than being so generic that you started with in the beginning.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think that makes sense. And then when it becomes more specific, I guess also the use of the skills, it will be to the point, like based on the model that has a car, has a paint, rims, or whatsoever. The content model will be structured exactly around those things, and you get the final results.
Yep. So here I'm trying to speed up the process a little bit. And then here you're going to get, if you have used Crystallize before, you're going to get a mass operation file, right? So it's reading the skills, again, letting you know what you do based on the coding agent. Sometimes you don't see that, right? With Claude, I can do Control O to have a lot of details. I can have the minimum details. And yeah, at the end of the day, you get the mass operation file that you can actually then push to Crystallize to create a model, which is what Flare is good for, right? Because Flare would do that right away.
Great. Yeah, definitely. I see the benefits of the skills, and now I understand also why people are so excited about it and asking about when we're going to get the Crystallize skills. So I think now it's official. Everybody can use it. They are the means that you can go and install them, read about them if you need, and then just pick the ones you need. Or I guess most of the time people will just get all of them because they cover different aspects of the product. So then it's useful to have all of them just installed, lying there, and when the coding agent needs them, you're just going to pick what it needs and work with it.
I guess it depends, right? If you are not a developer, maybe just content model is fine. It's really
true.
Yeah, you do you, right? That's really the point. I don't know if we need to wait for this, but I think you should try and share your content model. Because again, with Crystallize, you can build the same thing in different ways, and the way that is unique to your business is probably the good way, right? There is not a unique ways, but in the skills, we've provided some kind of tips and tricks.
Yep.
It's taking forever because we ask it to do pretty complex stuff, right? So.
Yeah. Great. I think that should be all from us, unless you wanna hit something else, Sebastian.
Nope, it's all good for me. Don't hesitate to do pull requests if you want to improve the skills, and let us know how they are performing, right? Which is the most important for us. If you are giving us feedback, we have the Slack, the community, so we can improve that together.
Yeah, and work together on them, make them even better, as we say.
Yep.
Great. So that was it all from us. If you like what you see here, like and subscribe, as we say every time, and see you next time. Bye.
See you. Bye-bye.